afternoon, everyone. We'll say the prayer on page number 10. On page number 10, we see recitations. We'll see each verse 2 times in Tibetan, all the way to page number 13.
It's 2 o'clock.
And then we will say in English 1 time, and I will let you the number.
Sanje la ja zun che o che la ja zun che o gen dan la ja zun che o sanje che dan so je zhong na la xiang che wa de da ne ja zun che da ge jian zuo jie wei zuo nan jie zhou la pen shi sang jian zhe ge zhou sang jie jie dang zhou jie zhou nan la xiang che ba de da ne jia zhen zhi da ge jian zuo jie wei zuo nan jie zhou la pen shi sang jian zhe ge zhou tam che de wa dang de wei jie dang dan be zhe zhou sim jian tam che de nge jie jie dang zhe we zhe zhou sim jian tam che de nge me de wa dang men zhe we zhe zhou sim jian tam che ni ran sha dang ni zhe wei dang niang la ni we zhe zhou sim jian tam che de wa dang de wei jie dang dan be jie dang jie du nge dang du nge jie jie dang zhe we zhe zhou sim jian tam che de nge me be de wa dang men zhe we sim jian tam che ni ran cha dang ni dang zhe wei dang niang la ni we zhe zhou别觉西上没多长，热热浪尖儿的电波都上街上的没得破坏，就看南的上了九个手一动个热让他们找了看大洋。
In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings invite equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. This ground, none to be perfumed, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, encircled by the 4 continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon, I visualize this Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy the pure land. Ida Guru Rana
Manjala Kanaya Dayamo. Gen Kugudwe.
Buddha.
Lasuta, Guzan Gra.
Also.
Ni Nani Namalangi Chasanani, Demi Kashpe, the Duni, Taton Chasanani. Only some just delicious.
First of all, I would like to extend my warm welcome to you all, and thank you for joining me here in the temple, and as well as those of you here join us through the internet online. Thank you.
드니 다티랑 가서 드니 아니 난 친구죠. 다 군바가 닌 제름 거군니 난 친구죠 그 다신데 우지 주니 땅이 디 고노 와반디 셰마 고노 우지 그 요래. 드니 다 카선 갱갱가 무좀무세 지구지 마라. 갱 카선 지 송송되나. 다티가나 갱
가장 매버든데 요지래. 지송나나 되게 양지고.
라스라스 야예 드니.
어떻게 나고 손데 매버미들이요라.
라스라스. 아니 다 ngaran ngortion dudi do chena ta ngaran tambu ani kumbu gumba dumi kumbu gumba ni kuchkoni lo ne rap to shoni ta gumba ni chachi tini kuchkotlo yara ta jagar chansola ni ta jagar ka thuso dansa chimbo ni jiponi ani ta lu ni sasmrang ga ta lu jong lo chini ta tini chikchi cho chang tarshini ani ta gumba ni de ji yong du ta de yong ju tin da ji ngaran na 다 간다 좀 눈이 쌌으면 나자가네 다 난친도 지잖니 다 간다 좀 다시는 로직해 로직이 다 어딘다 정이 무슨 로직이나
Well, I was asked to say a few words about me. In other words, to introduce myself and to you, and potentially maybe some of you missed the last the class in the previous class, and I also say the same thing. In other words, I have introduced myself to the audience. But here, let me do that again, and up on to the request. So first of all, my name is Geshe Gasal Jiangsu, and I was born in northeast Tibet, Amdo province, and I joined the Bumbum Monastery in 1992, and then in 1986, 4 years later, I escaped to India, then joined the Bumbum Monastery in south part of India, and where I have spent 23 years. So I went through all the monastic college universities curriculum, and successfully passed all the exams. And finally, I received my Geshe Laramba degree, which is equivalent to PhD here in the West system. And so this year, then upon received the invitation as well as the request and from Bongbong Chanziling and here TMBCC from US, and come to ask me come to the TMBCC and to be the teacher. So I was very happy and gladly accepted the invitation. So and here I am. And so today, or in other words, actually from today, in the next few months, probably, I'm going to discuss about as a part of the introduction to the Buddhism, the series of class and here at the temple. I'm going to talk about the stages of meditation, the middle section, composed by Kamalashla, and so the stages of meditation, the middle section, also called Bharava Krama in Sanskrit.
나서 드네 다당아 준드네 다초초 고노마티 굼고 거리마 손짱드네 다 아니 데페오노 담미 가시주 구주나 단 진짜 당보 다는 수건이 긴 건가거니 안진다트네 따티포니 수니자 구조 다가즈도니 칼리제니 그니 데스탄 저우지레니 gond아시요 데닝 아주 딜라야 지 리스미가 지 솔로 차이네 굼즈가 까망아즈네 지나니 솔로 지냐 지 무색이 지 3시간 맞다네 다 리탄 시미어 솔로 지라 까망아즈가 굼잡지잖아 당 토틸
Well, before I just or share my interpretation of the Bharava Karma, or the stage of meditation, the middle stage section, and let's do this because I understand that some of you have attended this morning's Geshe-gongda's class, and then you had to wait more than 2 hours, and after the class, you were in that class probably had to spend about 2 hours with the Geshe-gongda, and here you are again. So I understand this is not easy for you. So I would suggest why not we take 5 minutes before the class, and before the actual class. Why not we take 5 minutes and practice meditation. So the meditation I'm asking you to do is basically do nothing but just to get yourself to be very, very relaxed, meaning that put your mind and body and mind in a very relaxing, enjoyable and state of mode. And so we try 5 minutes and then get ourselves sort of recharged, and then we talk about our today's topic, okay?
건가 두제네 존네 더 단제 범에서 담배 치는 든 구tum되나 상자노 돈년년지 손단도노 치치선데 관제 된다고 선한 법무 단제자도 소원데 조제도 난조조 당아주 구치선나 종기제대 아니 다 딘당아주 디랑시 주디 주네 구름 도고 당아주 남군 남지에 정구름 붙이고 아니 나렌자가 아니 답 키와 아니 펜드십든지 정구름 지 남지 송고는 뛰는 거니 까말라시라 근데 베네 고노 마반디 아니 다 토물 코너 잠탄테네 코너 좀바부 까말라 그러지 자팅 아주 보니 잠던디 아니 아주 뜻보거니 디루제바 같으나니 치제 추송디 생각 같으라 아니 다 켄치시와주 켄치시와주디 다 까말라 싫어거니 기겐지 다 코너 담보마라니 볼라피니 다 보고 아주 산지기 담바티 아니 답벨라 하는 저친구지 당 요래 근데 그런 거 안에 답변 다른 사람마다 당아줘디 뒤로 재판하래네 다 좋은 취재 추송된 생각도 아니 딜안에 삼유질을 간제니 어디나지리 구미가 겐 구도 겐가
고소나 고소나
아니 니야 시준도 통송나니 제제 랑을 떠나 주고 네 겐가 송송자
나는 무슨
로스
너무 좋아요. And so let me give you a little bit of background information before we enter the actual the body of the text. And the text again in the which is the middle section of the stages of meditation. As we talked about it's by the great master called Kamalashla, and so as His Holiness the Dalai Lama composed eulogy and where he provided a list of great and eminent masters. We call the great 17 lineage holders or the masters of Nalanda University or Nalanda tradition. And Kamalashila is one of the 17 on that list. So Kamalashila, who come to Tibet in the 7th century, and actually, I'm sorry, the 8th century, who come to Tibet. He was born in 740 and then passed into the Nirvana in 795, the Common Era. And when Kamalashila come to Tibet, the king of the Tibet, or the emperor of Tibet, was Chisung Dizan. Interestingly, on this text, the stages of meditation, the middle section actually was composed in Tibet. And so what happened is prior to Kamalashila's arrival to Tibet, and then there was another eminent great master called Chandrashita. So Chandrashita, who comes to Tibet and as a part of the earlier the dissemination or the introduction of Buddhism from India to Tibet. So Chandrashita, who played the very key role, and then Kamalashila followed the step of Chandrashita and coming into Tibet in the 8th century. And so when he came to Tibet again, like I said, the king or emperor was Chisung Dizan, and then they built the monastery in Tibet. Is the first monastery ever in history of Tibet is called the Samye Monastery.
아니 karmala khiri taku danda karmala silazgate ne ta jarga 그거 다질 그 김이라 당아주 복kel 차라죠 지르자말라 그냥 배밍한 제 젠스도 배밍한 제 근데 다도 호시와 주 그런 거는 막다 사미스틸 칸티 장이 다티 나로네 아마 티 나로네 삼스틸 칸나네 다 지금 아주 딘센도 만도 망부지 지원들가 다 지내네 다 딘센도 와서 지내 당보딜라니까 제가 다질 루페나스도 다 안에 자티주 차상이 자르가 키와가 다질도 쓸라 보거니 보이라 차 제주거디 딘센지 요사리 노노노 디나 다 다질 루페나스도 아니 남도 치춤 노지 요사리 다 남도 치춤 노지 소소니 다 기츠는 거니 지 랍숑거 돈바 초지야다 어디 꼴티리 되니 매우서 삼ten 나지 다 매우 삼ten 나지티 아니 소소 곰자야 당아주 곰근나야 곰티라야 시곰단 조금니 tienen que su dan jogum agum jaya ga su tinda ji yosare da dinsen tinda chu ta tinda ji yo son zan tinala ta muyu santen nang nang la ya ani ta janak nge ma ti khapthila ne janak hasang sa do hasang ta janak hasang du mong bu ji tinay oni ta ta ra o chi chenya ro chi ne ji gum jaya ga tinda ni mong bu ji yosare tinane 지그땅이 막 간다고지네 다 지땅이나 아니 동시와 주 그런 강이 맞지 농텐도 제 요살다 그런 데스로 아니 디는 거다 단다가 딘사다 제 루파 나지로 난 또츠춤 나지로 아니 뭐 산텐 나지로 딘다 지 가정나 그런라 지 강에도요 어퍼치노지요 또 그런 거 아니 투문도 지 요살이다 뭐 농텐도 지나 그런 딘다 지 요살 디나니다 조조 그런 거 말아 아니 로혼 뭐지 덴전에니 마음와라 코니 간도지 강에도지 티틴다이나 아니 다 아니 자간이 쿠기트 나는다가니 딱까만 싫마 덴탄에네 어디 고텔라 말지 담발라 터튼데 고시 아니 그런 디저지네니 말아 아주 볼라 비슷한 걸 말도 딘다진 살다 까만다 그렇구나
무슨 니 좀아서 이제 상인은 뭔가 장칸데 혹은 뭔가 좀
말말에 사밀랑 요 잠바다 고 사밀랑 스ilo 칸이다 딘다 망부 지간 살았다 딘세 망부지 다시 치던 난 거지 다저 루페나
저기 고소라 저기 고소 니 좋아하더니 소금바만 좀에 제가 송송아
소금 말에 구 딘다지 빠치로 지 강에로 다 단다근 디 나로가 다저 루페나 제 당남도 시스템 나지 마유 삼담 드주 마가고 데스강에 챈서 되니 그런야다 도고는 부지 된데시니 그런다 잠주시네 소한도 담니 두지한서 다 고
송칸 누군데 쇼아토르
어리리 누구 쇼아토 그런 거
오예 나서 야야
다 킨친 쇼아토 있을까 누구 쇼아토 있을까
okay, so what happened is, as we talked about earlier, so the great master and also the abbot of Nalanda University in India, Chandrashita, who came to Tibet earlier before, and so established helped the emperor of Tibet to establish the Buddhist institution, and so as one of the successful project that was the establishment of or building the monastery, the first Buddhist monastery, Samyenlin, in Tibet, and so at that time. With the support or under the supervision of King Songzang Gambu and assisted by the great master Chandrashita and Bhamasambhava, what happened? The Samye monastery was built up, but within the monastery they built 3 different branches or 3 individual institutions. One is called the institution of the translation, or the branches of the house of the translation, a translator you can call it, where all the eminent masters from Tibet and also from India, they get together and work on the project of the translation. So that is one house, the house of the translation, or translator. Another house is called the house or the institution of the pure, Shila, and the pure, the practice of the Vinaya, you can call it. The institution or house of the pure Vinaya, a pure precepts, probably. So where all the masters and the teachers, and they're working on the transmission as well as the introduction to the introduction of this entire Vinaya, the system of Vinaya into the Tibet, and such as like performing the ritual of ordination and interpretation, interpreting the contents and the meanings of Vinaya from Sanskrit to Tibetan for Tibetans. And interestingly, at the same time, there is a third house or branches of that monastery that is called the unshakable, the house of the unshakable, or the institution of unchangeable. What does this mean is that here, unchangeable or unshakable refer to the meditation and the state of the stability of the state of meditation. In this particular house, the masters and teachers and those experts, and then working on the teachings and the practices of the meditation. So meditation here, and again, is particularly the work on both forms of meditation, the meditation of common abiding, as well as the meditation of analytical meditation, or the vipassana, shamatha or the vipassana. They work on those two forms of meditations. And according to literature and account, the historical account, what is interesting is that during the Shantarashtra's time, and there has been lots of the Chinese monk in Tibetan called Hashan, actually in literally correctly is called Heshang. Heshang is Chinese word, honorific way to address or refer to the ordained monks, and called Hashang in Tibetan. So there are quite a number of Hashang who also residing and dwelling in that the house of the unchangeable or unshakable. So where they teach, conduct the teachings and the practice of the form of meditation, which is very popular in China. And at that time, and we'll talk about during the Chantidiva's time, Shantarashtra's time. So Chantidarashtra and the senses that in the future, you're going to be, at some point, there's going to be a problem, and because of the form of the meditation practice has been integrated or introduced to Tibet from and China. So he kind of prophesies that when it comes to the point where the Tibetans feel so confused about the meditation and under the teachings of Buddha, and particularly in the meditation, and he prophesies that it is time for Tibetans to invite a great master and also his students called Kamalashla. So Kamalashla is a Sanskrit word, and translated in Tibetan is a kind of roughly can be translated as the garden of the lotus, or garden and of the garden in the shape of the lotus flower. So that's what the Kamalashila etymologically the meaning of his name is. So anyway, the point is that here the king invited Kamalashita come to Tibet is exactly just like the Shantarashita prophesied earlier, and the Tibetans have had a problem with the practice of the meditation. Also,
all this game. Tene tanda mayu tanda te ta dinsen sim ro jo tin nang ne mayu samten nang je tin nang la ya ane tanga zo gum ja ya go su su dire ta mayu samten nang ta samten na gum zna chi ba ro cha yo ra tin nang na ja na ga ha shang ta ha shang min da ha ku ma ha shang chi ge da ane tanda ane kinchi shwa chu 그런 게 아니 단다 그 디는 거 굼디나 나다 아주 당부 티와지 되니 삼바지 네 굼버지 다 티숨 굼숨지니 아주 세금돈 조금 니가 요아지네 두스마라니 안두스탄가 뭐 디지지요서 다 잔나 하상식 그 오니 티노니 아니 단다 다 퀘슨진로 다 티페 남통도 그래시 아니 그 시와 추고 티숨 굼숨지니 다 굼자딘 느낌이 두스티 구야자면 티 남통을 친다고 그래 당 아주 굼자디 아니 티와당 삼바카케 무고지니 따다자니 징메크타와지 식도하다 징메크타와 다 징메크타와 디게디고 다 삼시가 맞다 심탕님자 존에 되게 삼당 티마도니 티스무 검순디 구미도 세금티 수주티 구미도 테카바루 잡네 드네 다 치제츠손데 된거 내마 까만 아까 로콘시와수 그런 거니 투모요 하나도 되니 말하지 않겠네 된장네 다 괜찮아 까만의 실을 말아 된장네 아니 다 그때마다 같은 대로 지시 두스 말하지니 다 아주 곤 말와티 다 그런 거네 볼라요니 단다 그냥 하선데 디타와티는 오지 말가지다 저 굼til라니 시금땅이 오르도 구노 두스가니 네 아주 다 본인이 단다 곤 말와다 곤 토마 곤 말와 곤 밤가 타마지 곤 보잔디던 아니 오만 나와 그때 오마 거라다 오만 나와데 디니가 본인 배신 진행설 다고 이제 보고 로진도 진짜 된다지 로진도 된다지
so when the Tibetans again was so confused about the form of meditation and introduced to Tibetans by a monk called Hashan. Again, this Hashan is a generic term, and which can apply to all kinds of every individual monks from Chinese tradition. But in Tibetan literature, it's called Hashan. It could be not just one in the particular monk, or could be one of the monks who was a part of the house of the unshakable or unchangeable, or house of the meditation. And what happened is this particular Chinese monk who teaches of the meditation, it caused lots of confusion. And the confusion was like this. Essentially, earlier, during the time of Shantarashita, and the form of the meditation or the approach to the path of enlightenment, introduced by Shantarashita directly from Nalanda University in India, was that any individual and or everyone who seeking for the ultimate enlightenment, and who must go through the process of that involve with the three phases. So the process of the phases of hearing, meaning the collecting the adequate dharmic information or the teachings of Buddha, and then approach to the second phase, that is to contemplating or to examine and to investigating the validity of the teachings or information that one has accumulated or collected prior to the contemplation. So then up onto the completion of the contemplation, then one has to move to the last phase of the practice of the Dharma, and that is the meditation. So this lineage or this teaching and the system of the training has been introduced by Shantarashita was the main teaching and the practice that the Tibetans know well. However, as the Shantarashta passed away, and eventually the Chinese monks, or Heshang, literally, correctly, who began to took over all the controls of the practice of meditation and the house of the meditation, where either individual monk or the group of the monks from China, well, they began to teach Tibetans how to train themselves for practice meditation. Is that they say it is not necessary to go through what the Shantarashta taught, introduced from Nalanda University. They said that the approach to the Buddha Dharma or the enlightenment do not need to go through the three phases, meaning that you do not hearing or listen to study the Buddha Dharma for a reasonable amount of time and get the good understanding, and then they say also you don't have to go through the process of the contemplating or the thorough investigation of the Dharma or the Buddha teachings of Buddha you have heard. And they say there is a shortcut, it's a direct path or the approach, and then that is they call it the immediate and approach or direct approach. What it teaches, essentially, they say, collecting lots of the knowledge and then examine the validity of the knowledge of the Buddha Dharma, actually is increasing, or it's a promote the all kinds of discursive thoughts, and which is essentially is the form of discursive thoughts, and that is after all, it's not good. So therefore, their teaching, they teach the meditation form of meditation is disregarded the importance of the hearing and the contemplation, but directly, and they call the direct approach. They say that you do not need to think anything, disregard all thoughts, just do the meditation without anything and without any thought, thoughtlessness. They teach the form of meditation that is thoughtlessness, the meditation of thoughtlessness. And this, of course, is very troubling because it disregarded the understanding and the examine the validity or the authenticity of the knowledge that you have learned, and disregard these two parts and directly go without a clear understanding, and then to claim that you can achieve enlightenment and without thinking nothing, or have yourself in on the state of thoughtlessness, and consider that is the form of path to attain enlightenment, which is incorrect. So therefore, in the when this Tibet has been troubled by this kind of approach or teachings, and then the Tibetan king and the patrons who remembered what the Shantarashta have said in advance. So at that point, they went to India and Nalanda and approached Kamalashala and asked him come to Tibet to do the kind of a reformation, you can say, or you can call this to purify and or clarify the mistaken practice or approaches that the Tibetans are doing, and as a result of following the Chinese Hashang or the Heshang's instruction. And so Shantideva, the Kamalashala arrived, and then he composed his stages of meditation, and so at the entry level and or the first part and the entry session, and then middle session. He also did the the conclusion and the session, and particularly working on the wisdom aspect of the Dharma, and taught the Tibetans what is the authentic, the correct way to approach the practice of the Dharma, and then performing the meditation practice, and as a means to attain enlightenment. So, by the way, Shantideva also the Kamalashala also not just composed the stages of meditation, the middle session in Tibet. He also composed another important text in Tibet is called the Illumination of Madhyamika, or the Illumination of Middle Way.
다 중간에 좀바부 그런 다 가만라 실라 그런 거 로진로지 로진로지 지나든지 그랬더니 다 종이진로 다 종이진 거 듣나니 다 종이질라 지등에 나가서 삽진로이나 아니 담보네 천지 tunse 받아 종쟁이 tunse 받아 담보 천돈로지나 자크르케트 아바나 자마오케트 군비름바 잠베준네 저와라 찬살로진도 다 자크르케트 보안나 자마제티 치탕가 자그르케랑 아주 포창적으로 쳤다. 근데 좀만 보지나 다 틴도다 자그르케 담보즈네 티포케트 질로 자와가 지노디 단단데 자크르케트 보안나 자마오케트 군비르 마제 보안나즈나 치탕가 군바오스 근데 고 너희티 트라 보기라지나 자마지르가나 름바오지티 단 잡혀주네 저와라 찬살로 지르가 아니 다 루자와 그런 거네 다 포관잡혀주네 저와 땡아줘니 시르가 하임바 손장 잠비한테 ni khurang ga da zong di ji lo zhe yong la khurang la ni ji ro chun de wu dang ga skor dang a zu ni jing de wu na ram dong je wa che ta ni phang jam bi yong la du se ni ki shang ze wu de wu din le ji de
现在这个张妈的跟多多的个在这个
张妈那巴妈那张妈是多巴妈那是那公巴wu是张妈是那人巴wu是他公别人巴是人巴wu是张妈是那
Okay, now let's look at the actual topics of today. By the way, and what I have just comments on before, that is a very brief background information about this text and the author of the text. So you can consider that is a brief introduction to Kamalashala and his text, the intermediate stage of the meditation. So now, the way we began this text can be considered. We have completed the discussion or studies of this text through the two by dividing them into two. And first is an introduction into the text itself, and by explaining the title of the text, and then that's the key where the title contains key information about what the body of the main body of the text is all about. And then after that is the actual bodies of the text. And here the way to approach this is, you will see on the textbook here says, homage to the youthful Manchushri. So the homage of homage to the youthful Manchushri. But before that, in Sanskrit, in Tibetan, and text, it's essentially it said that in the language of Sanskrit, in the language of Sanskrit, it says that in the language of Sanskrit, the Bhagavan Dhamma, Bhagavana Dhamma. So what Bhagavana is the translation of Bhagavana is meditation, and Dhamma is the stage or the process. And then the author began to introduce and then how he going to going on to undertaking his own composition of this very important work. The way he began his composition is by paying his homage, his highest respect to the youthful Manchushri. You may wonder why he would do that, the author Kamalashila do that. And so this is a kind of long historical tradition. That is, any author who is conducting such an important composition who would express such a eulogy or the respect, show the highest respect to a particular deity or Buddha or whatever. So in this case is Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom. And why Kamalashila expressed his deepest, highest respect to youthful Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, is because in the sense that he is trying to asking the Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, and to inspire him, to protect him, and help him to successfully complete his the task of the composition of this important text. And by the way, in the two or began the text with the Sanskrit words, like say in Indian language or in the Sanskrit Bhagavana Dhamma, which essentially is helping or in the with understanding that and by upon hear the Sanskrit, whoever and among the audience, in this case like us, we would have some kind of a very important imprint or develop some kind of predisposition and in Sanskrit language, and whereby in the future, when our karma, the fortunes are fully ripened, then we will have the ability to approach the actual manuscripts or the words of the Buddha written in Sanskrit language itself.
Tenida Tajung is it Maonane Taba Chimbu Dudi Tseche Jisenji Panamji or Gumberamba Doshe Tozaza. The La Tamje Chimbanye Hind the near the Topran Dopa, Topatan Dembe, T Topra Shepi, Janam Janamna, Mumber Sumbersha was the. Tatanda de Karski was now Taba Chimbu Dudi Tseche Jisenji Panamji Gumberamba.
是吧？那么这个老产品的时候，到你们老下过，真的这个就行了。
老是的时候。
So let's read the first paragraph. I shall briefly explain the stages of meditation for those who follow the system of Mahayana Sutras. The intelligent who wish to actualize omniscience extremely quickly should make a deliberate effort to fulfill its cause and conditions. So,
그래서 되네 다단다 그 직관 당부대 더바 친분 누디체 지슨 지반남지 군베르만 도르셰프샤오지나 다단다 그 친데로 있나 가리즈나 디카til라네 다 더바만 발이 체벌다 보바 아니 사바다 야치위 아니 토아친분 누디체til라네 지번 도반남지 냠스나위 주 아니 터신지 람 군베르바 타이와 요장스고가 다 타이와 요저 띠 군베르바 딜라네 아니 가리스키오르지나 도디티 다 chitang dordiwa ani gumbe yala chachang ani changwa ani tishe ki yinzi da dondong da rutin jari da dila thaba chimbi dodi cheje jesen ji pa na ji gumbe ram ba shepa shewa na da thaba mambali chepa thaba thchin ji lam dila ani sapata ja chiwi nisko ram ba khurong na dodi dila yo ti nyam salam ba nam che ne dordiwa to yonsa chungwa tinra ju gumbe ram ba tishe ki yinzi 단들라 탐지 첨반이 흔더 녀르 토분도 봐 도화당 된 비지가 단다근데 도화당 된 비지 디가 다 탐지 첨반이 지가 선지지 공mon도 시켜 봐 선지지 공포는 도바 남지 하나 신의 녀른도 봐 도바당 된 바지가 땅 아주 지등근 디카들라 도바당 된 바지 삼바라 가르스케르즈나 아니 딱 한테 치지린다 다 언어를 비즈니스도 단다데 언어 저저지니 두스 송고 요사린 디카들라 다 디다 담바 지 토제제 제남도 제남나 몸을 잡을 셔오지다 아니 성지지 공pon도 반남지니 그런 거다 제다 제딜라 아니 몸벌다 아니 지 다가서 좀벌 셔오지나 딜람 베벌 셔오지나 무슨 살 챙겨져 오지나
Let's work on let's try to understand by at the surface level, let's say, and through the explanation of the word itself. So by explaining the meaning of the words, let's see what in the first paragraph here, the Kamalashara is trying to inform his audience, which is us here. So what essentially he is saying that he mentioned about the Mahayana, so the term of Mahayana. And so what he's trying to do is that he's going to briefly explain the stages of meditation and according to the Mahayana Sutra, and that's the key. So in other words, the form of meditation or the teachings he's going to contact is belong to the traditions of Mahayana teaching. And so when we talk about the Mahayana, or often hear the term Mahayana, we have to know that this term implies that there are other forms of the practice or teachings and in the Buddhism. That is traditionally, and one of the translations called Hinayana, or small vehicle. And so either way, either use the Hinayana or the small vehicle, and the Mahayana is in comparison to that non-Mahayana approach, and so therefore it's called the Mahayana. So the form of the teaching, and particularly the involved with the meditation, the system of meditation, here introduced by the Kamalashara, is Maha and Yana, which imply that this teaching is superior, is advanced, and which is higher than all those non-Mahayana the teachings taught or introduced in the non-Mahayana sutras. So how we're going to do that is that we're going to teach the essence of the Mahayana Sutra, and very briefly and very precisely and clearly. And he's going to address the essence of the Mahayana teaching, Mahayana Sutra. And so the way he's going to touch upon is the two subjects. One is we call it the the subject involved with a greater profundity, or involved with the very subtle and the deep topics, and another is subject is involved with the great or extensive teaching. And so he's going to touch upon these two separate topic and very briefly and concisely and clearly. So therefore, he urging that whoever is aimed to attend omniscienthood or become omniscient being, and who must through the study and learning of this text, and by understanding what is the primary cause of the primary causes and the conditions which is necessary to attain the Buddhahood. So he's going to help those individuals understand the main, the primary causes and the conditions which lead the individual practitioner who is aimed to attain Buddhahood. So, and by the way, and this text is designed for the individual, particular individual, with respect to the levels of their intellectual capability or the levels of intelligence. So the audience of this text primarily, essentially, is the one who is considered the intellectually or intelligently, and is superior. And we technically call it the sharp faculty.
아니 되는 너들 탐체 첨반인 되나 지금 발린 종 머롱티 탐체 전티 탐체 아니 첨반이든 종 태론 지르시로 대화면 번 좀나나 강다양 토벌 머롱티 강게나 탐체죠 탐체 첨반이든 문제로 디타비나 라르 자름난 가시든 종도 세비 angyu tamchenda jelatiwa khunai no si tamche jang ya again then dikbata
so
Lazarus.
So what is the mind? It is not possible for omniscience to be produced without the causes. Because of it war, everything could always be omniscient. If things were produced without a reliance on something else, they could exist without constraints. There would be no reason why everything could not be omniscient.
아니 다다 디스킨데로는 다다 탐비 첨반이나 너는 지메 발린 종 뭐런데 다 탐지 첨바지 이런 zamala 아니 상지지 콤폰다네 지메 시메린 종거는 요 말이지 탐지자 뒤 탐지다 아니 첨반이든 종 되비시로스 지메 시메린 종송이나 아니 강서 탐지 전에 뒤 탐지다 아니 상지 공부 투유레스 디나요 태원지로 제도 텐루도 태와디 폰주도 대화면 그런 종나데 강다요 토마론데 강기나 탐지자 탐지 첨반이든 문제로 제라 대화메버 제다 제라 대화메버 종나 탐지 첨바제디 젠드모즈 강다요 안에 종데 토마론나 강기나 탐지자 탐지면 강서 탐지 아니 타지 첨반지로 준종거래스 딱그 치도도로 되나 데이터비나 라르 자름난 가식던 종 세비 angyu tamchina jelatiwa khunaos ta ditavina ta tuschiona ani lalar jalam nazeti sipazamda khashita ani tamchichiman jon sakrida angyu tamcha angyu china ko jitang chena tiguati ani chinye ro jirezn da ku chelo dina jiredo ta kaunta chanto do tamchindi karishe kyozna ani ngazo ni tamchi chimba ani sangjiji kompon de bala jitang chen kan la ngiur de tiguresi jitang chen masna ko yo marizno ta indutri to don ro.
It's 3 o'clock.
So let's see here. Then therefore, since all functional things things arise only occasionally, and they depend strictly on their causes, omniscience too is rare because it does not occur at all times and in all places, and everything cannot become omniscient. Therefore, it definitely depends on causes and conditions. So what it says here is that we know essentially our goal as an audience, and we know that, or as any the followers of Mahayana, whose essential or ultimate goal is to become omniscient one, or become a fully enlightened being, awakened one. So meaning become a Buddha. So then the question is how you can make it possible, right, to become a fully enlightened one. Here the argument is that so the approach or the way to become Buddha, and one must understand that it is not coming from nowhere, and it is also, and the Buddhahood, the precious Buddhahood, cannot be manifested or become materialized without related to any cause and conditions. Because the argument is, if Buddhahood is not the production of causes and the conditions, then anyone, any sentient being, in all the time or in anywhere, regardless where, regardless when and who, they can become Buddha, or there would be a Buddha, right? And because there's no causes required, there's no conditions need to be depended upon. And secondly, if you do not need the Buddhahood, right, it does not need any without any a particular set of causes, and it doesn't relate to the cause, and it doesn't depend upon the conditions, and then there would be there's no restrictions or there's no limitations. So again, anyone all the time and whoever and wherever you are and whoever they are, they can attain Buddhahood to become Buddha themselves. But the truth of the matter is there's no such a thing. As the text says, the omniscience is just like in the material world. Though all the functional things arise only occasionally. Why? Because all the functional things arrive only occasionally because of it requires the causes, particular sets of cause and condition, or they arise due to the cause and the conditions, the maturity of the cause and the conditions. Similarly, the omniscience, right, the Buddhahood, the state of enlightenment is very rare. That's because it does not occur at all time and in all the places. Why? Is because it cannot be without any because it depends upon and heavily and merely depend upon and all the conditions and the primary causes. So therefore, one must understand and working on the causes and the conditions in order to attain the Buddhahood. And because after all, and there's no such a thing that as long as in the world of materials, in the material world of material, things are involved with forms and matters. And one thing that is the nature, by its nature of the law, that without a cause and conditions, there's no outcome.
단디 버는 특정 시즌도 디 차선나 배제 좀 같이 차선 로지 단디 루잖아 탐체 쳔바 니에터 용 라러 자름난 가신 저티 티 탐체 대왕 마이 니 탐체 대왕 마이 탐체 장 마이 비 디셔티나 제단치라 티로 니소지
Also, yes, training the mind. Also, from among these causes and conditions, you should cultivate correct and complete causes. No, I think I'm wrong. All that it only said it. Yeah. Omniscience, I read this, but yeah. Omniscience is rare because it does not occur at all time and in all the places. Yeah, that's right. And everything cannot become, definitely depends on causes.
아주 다단다기 돈으로 가리즈나다 아니 타와던 탐지 준비 공통 도발라 아니 지도 지랑 요르 땡고도 지도 지랑 요르 마투나 진드모즈다 진드모데 다티 소시 거라 지 탐제 대어 마예 아니 탐제 대어 마예 탐제자 마예비 아니 니워다 니다 지도 지랑 땡고도지 다 돈도로 디나지리
So the last 3 lines and 4 lines essentially, it talked about and again to confirm or to make the previous point very clear and more decisive, and that is in any case one must understand the Buddhahood definitely is the result of the production of causes and a proper cause and conditions. So the logical argument is clear. If Buddhahood does not require the proper cause and the effect, then so you cannot explain why the Buddha is not the omniscience or the Buddha occur in all the time in everywhere. It doesn't occur all the time, only occur in a particular time. It does not appear in all the everywhere, but only in a particular places. That is clearly the clear evidence shows that the attainment of Buddhahood definitely requires the proper cause and the conditions.
당아주 따티소 페이지 선사소 되는 아주 디런 지금도 지제나 당아주 디런 영역만 루트 마소 되네 다 그러니 까마나 싫어 아니 그런 거 로지지데 되니 디런 거 다들 쇼무자 되는 건 지금도 지제나 아니 당아주 탐지 첨바 디뷰시 빨라니 다 남몽부지요다 디는 거니 람네 니르와 조부토토와 당니 돈 안에 디와지 말아니 오드네 송고인 디식다래 되니 다 탐지 첨바니 도발라니 지메시메니 종고 말이 강하다제 제타 젠칸로랑 여부터 땡고레스 디랑아주지 dum도지잖아 디라진사리다.
Let's have a quick caption or summary, and let's say what we talked about, learned today. And so we are almost running out of time. And what we have discussed today, we didn't go much, cover much. But what we covered is we have talked about the brief history or the background, the stories of the author of this text, Kamalashila, and the text itself. And then we touched upon, discussed about the omniscience or the Buddhahood, the perfect state of enlightenment. And what the text is going to talk about, or what the author was have promised to his audience, then how we're going to address this very issue of what is the proper way to attain the Buddhahood. In this, which is swiftly helps the individual to achieve it, the Buddhahood swiftly and and easily by understanding the teachings of the profundity and teachings of the extensive and skillful means. So, and the path or the way that Kamalashila is going to introduce it to us, and in terms of to achieve the Buddhahood is by pointing out. So for those who aim to attain Buddhahood, they must understand that Buddhahood is not in result of it does not it coming from nowhere, and or does not require any particular cause and the conditions. So the argument is that if you do believe so, then the logical you will contradict yourself, because the Buddha has to be in all time and in everywhere, and everyone can become Buddha. But the reality is that there's no such a thing. So therefore, the correct understanding and is, if you wish to attain Buddhahood, you must know that Buddhahood is the result of the proper involved the proper practice of proper cause and the conditions. That's what we have talked today in brief.
Tati sohang ga tinda ji sasana. Ani tamusik yang tu tatwa tilen du yo na. Kitchen du ji yo na. Tan tu sasa mari gen kani du tatiran tati so sim tang kama chi la zo chongwa sin du.
So let me see. We are 10 minutes, 3 minutes after 10 minutes after 3. So do any of you online or here in the temple have any questions for me?
I just have a clarifying question. In the beginning, when you were talking about that, and previously in Tibet, it was hearing, contemplation, and meditation. And then with the Chinese monks, they refuted that and basically said that that wasn't needed. And I guess my question is, and then the Tibetans went back and adopted that, the hearing, contemplation, and meditation. And I'm just curious, is there certain sects today, and I'm specifically, I'm thinking of Zen, where it's just calm abiding, there's no analytical, where they just clear the mind, and that's it. They don't think about it.
Okay. You are talking in general, or are you talking about in the context of Tibet's Buddhism?
No, in general. I'm just curious in general. In general.
Oh, okay.
Are there some types of Buddhism where they just, it's calm abiding, no analytical?
Okay. 어디 여기까지 쉬어야지. 오늘 제가 저기 야나 하상 원래는 혹은 컨텐츠 치와 쪽에 람스 and 대성공 좀 어디 름바 지 야마터 지니 냠난나도 소요바데 아니 시스 야나 하상의 용안이 대화당 삼바데니 뭐와제 오 카페 보는 봄때라 영중 매와
이랬네요. 그래서
그게 얘기한 게
Looks like we might have lost Tenzin.
Yeah. Tenzin. Is it run away? Was it
That
your,
was a really good question, by the way, Stacy.
was it your questions?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really good question. The question was around the Chinese monks and what they were teaching and the kind of contemplation. And Stacy was saying that there was a different tradition around listening, contemplating, reflecting, and meditating that's reflected in Santa Rasana's approach, but was less so in the Chinese approach, which was very Zen, empty your mind, focus on emptying your mind and nothing else. In fact, virtuous thoughts themselves were seen as interfering with emptying your mind. And that's kind of where we were. Maybe now Wang is there too.
뭐 거기 프로페서 디시도 있잖아. 영어 이디 티워로 남주 티워로 이디 이게 디모나 전화 상계 지요. 피하다 아니 전화 상계 지에밍 따와로 줘라. 근데 간다. 엔디 제목이 조금 더 제공도 보여면 다 지에면 더 공부 되게 돼 줘라. 근데 내가 주로 싸우고 있지. I think this is it.
I'm just curious because Chan Buddhism then became Zen Buddhism. And I think that's one of the characteristics of that is just.
Hold on.
Okay, he's back.
Hold on. I lost the internet connection. This is the chess.
계속 경기 지가 구무도.
Oh yeah.
이게 또 고통해서.
Yeah. Okay. So here I am. All right. So the answer is that because one of the is correct. The number of this was in 고배적으로 대선 공증 이 기반하고 senje 다바다 다도 마용샤게 이나요 제용데 남에 약간 나와 이 도스테 용데 담바 잔세시 요와스 잔세데 담바카 디 야반게 산담베 수수게 이야 기바디 야마마 야반라 체제 야마니 transit 니 자반니 잔스도 but that's something better you 야나세야 and then the the 제가 건축으로 소들나 지원이라면 셰파도 내지고 몸이 피나는 거 와서 근데 그 거란 책에 니 공부 다리요 있어나서
디쿠르티 지엄에 그타와티나 배청이 당아주 상지야라 단단나 가 몸마티 창고를 붙이고 니토 주변 동인디 가시를 잡발라 코르가 다나티 구나티 송도 아니 다 코응에 맞가는 자편나 패자말란 자편나 단다 디타와티 두시다 맞아 무디바 공부지와라 무두바 공부티 타와티 찍부고는 상지 특 말베지 깨제진데 진네 두다 무두바즈가 다 무두바 공부마도 심바시가 삼단계요 말하고는 다지 무두바지가 당아주 가르고 당아주 도치니 무두바 공부요라 두선도 타와티도 티 간에니 용고요 말베 네 상지 말지 코티지 깨제진데 종지 참 잡는 배자마다 아니 장고름지 뒤송도다 지등은 정확하게 타와지 공부자마라 배지 상지야 당아주 펜토지 말sam도다 kujiga mukten ta zo songa zo gamjala mukpa ta ane jintanji ta mukten ze gwara da ku mukten chiga me tige gumje zambala ta musek ji sangjiala da musek ta nga zo sangjiala su ane ta di oni yungara da jinri menga denga guni yongwa ja de ja su na da ji 탑시 송대 운이 담말 오는 거라 수수디 디오는 마 용당 용지 봐라 단단히 녜마 치던 거다 영니 다다게 좋아디 아 스트레스 좋아지 담발아 나 가리 똑바치 손다 그런데 자나 하선도 존이 사와티나 용니 아니 다 아니 가네 괜찮 시와 주고 따와티나 가바지스 바지 딘다지 쿠템 바산 손 나 촌나 동송 지던 거 자나 하선 그 따와 그 사와틴다 용니 두즈 가바지 말고 뭐 선때 나나 자나 그 타와 보여 사랑 마티나나 삼미는 거다 뭐 삼때는 거 군바티나라 아니 자나 타와 뭐 보여 사리 지찬에 곰자야 그냥는 진다 되는 뭐 보치던 군바티 타와 임바 강실라 디나네 하상 냥다 하고 뭐서 구지가다나 그런 거다 다치면 그 타와디 다 주주 디네 만도 구미도 다 티숨 것을 빌 시금디 구미도 다 조금디 마도 구미도 다 두스 아니 지 견지시와 솔라야다 지 녀다 로시니 ngazu ji kacha shina ma na nyota ro she tu zama songzang teni da chi song de zeng da ngoma long ten yo na zeng ne kama ji shir mara ni pola den chang teni khor ga da dan da de ani sikuner da tok ten ro jeni ne da dan da su su gono wa gan dina na ani shil song de ga ko de pe mo bu yor song da she gono wa gan dina na ani di ma song da ngu ngi wer da ni shegum gunu 신이 죽음도 다 흑통고노 흑통고 샬로 손지고 금디 고노 두스니 다 디타고다니 고노마 바티 두스 나레스 단다가 고노고 고자 고노 톡타 와서 그 데티 두스 제야레스 두송도 다 서버로 지 차였나 당에 디스 만선 로지리다
I'm not sure whether I made this clear. But anyway, let me tell you this about the Zen or some other forms of tradition. We don't know I don't know for sure whether the Zen is doing exactly the same practice like we talked about here in terms of the problematic approach introduced by the Chinese Hashan or the monks in the 8th century in Tibet. So what do they say according to Tibetan literature? Essentially, they introduce form of practice, and that is in Tibetan called Jiyamasheva Tawa, or take no any view approach, or the view that involve with taking no view approach, or the view and the practice that's free from any view. So you can say the viewless approach. That means, so as a meditator, when you are meditating, and it works, and try not to have any thing and at all. So therefore, in Tibetan and translation is have nothing, and nothing view, and a view that requires nothing, or suggests some kind of nothingness. And then that is a problematic, because to attend the Buddhahood, and you have to have depend upon the proper the primary cause and the conditions. So I'm not sure, however, and this form of the meditation on the nothingness, or nothing at all, it seems that it does still exist, still around. At least what I have heard in the 2017, His Holiness Dalai Lama visited Japan. At that time, according to his stories shared by His Holiness Dalai Lama, and he met a Japanese monk. So the monk said to His Holiness Dalai Lama, and why we cannot become a Buddha just by practice only one single method. He specifically said, why not in the meditation of the ugliness, meditation of ugliness, or meditation of ugliness, why that a single approach cannot lead one to the enlightenment. So here, the ugliness is, for instance, like you are someone who is troubled by the attachment, especially the sexual attachment, and you want to overcome and the sexual attachment. It is suggested that the most effective approach of practice is meditation of meditation of ugliness, which of course from the Buddhist Tibetan Buddhist point of view, and by that very simple one approach, and to say will lead you to the Buddhahood, it seems, and that is not a proper course. Of course, it works, it helps to some extent, but the lead to Buddhahood, attainment of Buddhahood, is not a result of such one simple and single technique. So anyway, the Buddhahood, the omniscience, and actually requires a specific the base and a specific the meditation itself has to involve with the object of the meditation and as a means. So in other words, the Buddhahood what you aim to attend is has to be the result of the combination of wisdom and skillful means. So the meditation which helps the individual to attain Buddhahood has to be the meditation that is a combined approach where the both skillful means and the wisdom are harmoniously unified in a single approach. So that's what the Tibetans would argue. And earlier, Stacy, when you asked me a question, and it seems that there was probably in the sense that it seems that the Chinese monks, Ashan, who sort of rejected the Shantideva's teaching directly, or criticized his approach, and which probably is not. And according to the literature and my interpretation is that so there are certain Chinese monks, and at least one particular Asha, I don't know whether one individual or the group of individuals, and they're saying that so among the two meditations, right, meditation and common abiding and analytical meditation, or the shamatha and the vipassana, they say one can attain Buddhahood by merely rely on or practice the vipassana itself alone, and they do not have to practice common abiding meditation. So, which is the argument, or where the argument was taking place, and because this argument is being generated among the Tibetan community, so therefore at that time the Dharma king Chisung Deza was got involved, and then so then he invited Kamalashila, and Kamalashila come to say the practice of the path which leads you to the Buddhahood, or the proper way to practice Buddhism and the path of Buddhist teaching has to be the meditation alone has to be the meditation that involve the both Shine, that's the common abiding, and the Haltong, that's the special insight. So Shine, common abiding, and the Haltong, special insight, both must be combined, but in unified, and then that is the way. And then it would make it the one possible and to attend the Buddhahood. So I don't know if I explained this clearly to you, but that's what I can think so far. However, one thing I can tell you is that we don't need to worry too much about this argument, because in the next few months we're going to specifically talk about this argument, the background of this, not background, yes, the theoretical, the background of the argument, and how the Kamalashila and resolved this argument between whether that's a non-thinking or thoughtlessness or thinking of nothing approach is the proper way or not. And we were learning to understanding of the path that he is introduced to us in this text.
I have a comment. I am thrilled to find out Vajrapani's secrets.
I beg
Compassion,
your pardon?
bodhicitta, and skillful means.
Skillful means?
What?
Is that what you say, ma'am? I only heard this
I
secret and the skillful means.
Yeah, I said I'm thrilled to hear Vajrapani's secrets. Compassion, bodhicitta, and skillful means. Thank you.
Oh, alright, alright. 다른 분이 지금 이 다른 어떤 성화를 말씀으로 해. 망가 성화 망가라고 그거야 이 탭 차대 계신 보이는 어디서 오는 것도 왔어요.
That's me.
So this is not a question, right? No.
Right.
이쪽은 면에서 거기 안에 성화만 거는 요놈이 탭이 잘라시게 어디에 왔어.
제제 다라레다 단다 수은디 오니 담마라 다티런 다정 좀 어떻게 말아 오니 수수니 탑고 걸 때니 샹치지 있습니다. 냥지 당니 진비 발신 다 탑스고도 탑딜라 진바 진비 발신 즉 저도 단디 오니 상님만이 많이 냥도 말 용해도 우리 다 이런 니쿠티나지 지리까지다.
Yeah.
That's
Yes, you're right. And we're going to talk about the importance of the skillful means aspect of the Buddha teaching and the practice, and more specifically, and along the over the next few months, the course of the few months, and we're going to talk about the specific, like the 7 quintessential instructions of the cause and effect, and we're going to talk about the bodhicitta or development of the bodhicitta, and then special sets of the skillful means, such as loving kindness, compassion.
We'll say the closing prayer on page number. Professor,
No.
Professor,
Oh yeah, Victor, you have questions?
Yes, it's actually not a question, it's just a comment. I wanted to say thank you. This is a very precious and rarely translated text that's taught in English. This is a very rare, precious text. It has had a profound influence on Lama Tsongkhapa's Lam Rim, and it's an original.
Sorry. 거기에다 다들 좋았을 매니 정말 아주 다리 책을 좋은 거는 배대 하려고 자천보다 누구라고 되게 자천보시게 근데 맞아 이 좋은데 맞아 배다 하고 되게 무지게 아니 냠시스나다 아니 초서때 라미게라니 하장 그 시간 아마도 참고해요.
Oh, the cutting shit down last Twitch.
Yes, you're right. Thank you.
Last one, number Lenjinani. That Tirangan Zindadi to Zini, and that two and go, Tatiran Consara. Last
Oh, thank you very much for you all again and coming and joining me in this afternoon's class. And thank you both online and here in the temple. And today is Sunday, I understand, and therefore I particularly appreciated the effort you made.
Ramboje Maji Wana Jijar Jiwa Nyamba Mebayang Kone Konda Pevajo Kowe Shankaza Pendo Diwa Mali Jongwene 坚持最后谈真讲出一下本身的我的等劲儿就会把为这点钱吧当看到上不这样的得到跟姐姐说到了这给我得到他们这了的我的什么设备叫他们我看到说的我把的当心给为早晚的让不就是了的我让你等把带上去谈真就谈起个空上的钱跟那的钱中上街担把到的解决跟着叫我中他说新年你生在北的教育我被南上的该就这样都不嘛就